Hey, welcome. Rustin here. Okay, so I am stoked to introduce you to this gentleman. I met him in Tennessee at a fitness conference, and he's actually a fellow colleague of mine. He runs an online men's coaching program just like me. And when I met Irslan, it was instant. The energy, when you meet somebody and they just have that energy about them that is just contagious, and you thoroughly enjoy being around those kind of people. That was this experience for me when I met Irslan in Tennessee some 6 months ago or something like that. And I mean, I knew after speaking with him just a few times, I'm like, oh my word, I have to have him on the show. He is so great. And the amount of wisdom that he drops on this episode was so great. He is full of wisdom, but he is a truth seeker. He's just like all the listeners on this show, trying to become the best version of ourselves. I would definitely put this guy at the pinnacle of such an extreme measure of desire to be the best version of himself. I mean, the guy is daily working on himself, daily trying to help people, daily trying to be a muscular gentleman in my book. So really pumped to have him on the show. Take some notes. This is going to be a fun conversation. We're going to talk about things to help you kind of level up as you go through your fitness journey, things you're going to bump into. But yeah, this is fun. And it was a blast speaking with him. I had a pleasure having him on here. So let's everybody welcome Irslan Ali.
Welcome to the Muscular Gentleman. Where we don't apologize for being men. Masculinity, sex, fitness, and attraction, helping men reclaim their masculine edge, improve their sex life, get the body they've always wanted, and master their mindset to build a life worth living. This is the Muscular Gentleman, and now your host, Rustin Webb.
What is happening, Muscular Gentleman? This is Rustin. I am stoked. This is Irslan Ali. He is a fellow colleague, and I actually met him in Tennessee at a conference, a fitness conference, and we hit it off immediately. I mean, instantly. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Rustin. It's a pleasure to be here, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. So Irslan Ali does something very similar that as I do, as we are business or fitness coaches for men. And mostly, I only work with men. I'm assuming you do too, right?
Yeah. Mostly working with men looking to lose dad bod and stubborn belly fat.
Perfect. So what I'm excited about for this show today, this episode, is we're going to kind of bounce off things that we run into, little problems or hiccups for men as they go through the journey of getting fit and getting rid of the dad bod, starting to eat healthy, things like that. What are all the kind of roadblocks they're going to run into? And this is kind of fun because I think the listener is going to like being able to say, oh yeah, I've been through that, or I'm going through that right now, or it's like kind of a heads up as you start this journey. What are you going to run into? So this will be fun. And one of the things that Irslan's really good at is mindset and getting your mind into a frame of like success, right? And so this is going to be great. Can we start with, though, a little bit more about yourself so the listeners kind of know who you are and why you are one of the best coaches that I've ever met, actually?
Sure. And I appreciate that compliment.
Yes.
I'll take it. So a bit about myself. I actually, funny enough, have a accounting and finance background, and straight out of school, I began to work as a financial advisor. But during that time, I was not very healthy. I was well over 40 pounds, felt sluggish, felt tired, didn't really know any other way of life. But more importantly, during that time, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And that's when things really began to shift. And I began to take things really seriously. And seeing that impact, that lifestyle change that my mom had, where she was given a few months to live, and she ended up living well beyond a few years, that really motivated me to take control of my own health, for a lack of a better word, really get my ass into gear. And that's when I hired my first coach. And together with his help, I ended up losing 40 pounds in just under 5 months, got into really great physical shape as well. I started noticing things like confidence. There was a mental aspect to it as well that was positive. And then pretty much from there, after my mom passed away, I decided to leave finance and I jumped into fitness, and I began to work as a personal trainer, at some point a nutritionist. Went off independently on my own with clients. And then with COVID, with over 2 years now, I've been doing this just like yourself, full-time online. And, we've worked with well over 400 members at this point as well.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So were you just sitting at a desk like 40 plus hours a week at your old job?
Yeah, pretty much. It was very sedentary.
And what's funny that for the listeners, I mean, that's probably a very common for almost everybody listening is a desk job, right? Sitting somewhere at a computer and working.
I mean, even working from home, right? Like I would say more so now than ever.
Yeah, it's probably gotten worse. You're right. And some of these bigger corporations will maybe even offer and have the affordability to give you maybe a stand-up desk or something like that. But even if you're going 15 minutes standing and 15 minutes sitting, whatever, you're still sedentary, right? You're still just sitting there.
They say that sitting is the new smoking.
Yes. It's so true too, because, and just from a biomechanical standpoint, not just for your health as far as your heart and your actual weight gain, all these different things, but from a biomechanical standpoint, the more you sit, the more you turn off muscles like your glutes and what we call the posterior chain, the backside of your body, and we start closing up into this fetal position, even from standing. That causes so many issues for injuries and pain and like chronic fatigue, and we lose this connection. But yeah, it's the new smoking.
Earlier you were talking about how I'm an expert in like mindset, and like that's the area I'm passionate about. And I'm not a big fan of that word mindset. It's very cliche. It gets thrown around a lot, but I'm a big fan of science and physiology and psychology and the way this stuff impacts our life. And like you said, when you're sitting, what happens? You're going to hunch over in this posture. And sure, that has physical implications, but what we don't often realize is it also has psychological implications as well, where, you move a muscle, you change a thought. And what are you communicating in this posture? When you're over-rounded, your chest is hung over, your head's down, you're communicating with your body that, oh, I'm slouched over. I don't have energy. I'm stagnant. And then you begin feeling stagnant, slouched over, like you don't have enough energy. And then, of course, you're not going to be motivated. But maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit. But like I said, I think it's important to recognize these things. Even a slight shift in your posture, we now know from a science standpoint, can increase your testosterone, can increase your mood and improve it significantly as well.
And confidence, right? Confidence.
Totally.
What do they call them? Power positions, I think they call them.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. I mean, I was just reading an article about this on golfers, and they show these golfers in the middle of a tournament on video, and they're showing like the leaders and things like that. And one of them started to lose the match that they were in. And you see their posture change, and you see them off, and they start to slouch. And you see the guy that was behind, but somehow within a hole or two had managed to creep up and be in. I guess they were tied at that point, and their posture was open, chest was out. They were standing wide, very wide with their body. So his hands were on his clubs, and he's kind of in this just like very stoic position. Completely. I mean, they showed every little change, and is literally what you're saying. It's just their mindset completely changed and their posture went with it, or vice versa. Right. But somehow it all was connected. And it's interesting when you're in these places where you're stressed before a phone call or, whatever it might be, just changing your posture can really help the physiological or the psychological end of where you're headed. Right.
Totally, man. One of my favorite quotes is that it's easier to act your way into new ways of thinking than it is to think your way into new ways of acting, which is exactly what we're talking about here.
That is fantastic. That's a great quote. Yeah. Do you know who said that's great? Who said that?
It's anonymous from, I mean, it's attributed to a lot of people, but from what I can tell, it's like one of those anonymous quotes.
Nobody knows where it came from.
It's like a gem. It's like it was just like it was gifted to us by the gods.
Yes, yes, genius. I love it. Yeah, and so those are starting points, right? Let's dive in if you don't mind. So let's talk about maybe some common mistakes. So, men listening are either on the fence of starting coaching or they have coaching or things like that. What are some common mistakes that you might come across for men trying to get in shape? What are roadblocks or what are things that you see all the time?
Well, it depends on where they are at along the journey. Let's maybe talk about where they're at before they start. Maybe those guys that are on the fence. What I find, go on.
Sorry, they're out of shape. They're feeling foggy brained. They're sick and tired of their lifestyle. They feel like they're on a hamster wheel, and they're not going. They're not getting where they want to go. So they're kind of in that fed up position, right? Like, I need to make a decision, and I need to do something.
And maybe they have tried things in the past where it's intermittent fasting or keto or low carb. And what they found is, especially a lot of fathers, is it's just not sustainable, right? When you're sleep deprived, which many fathers, like you're a father, you got 2 kids, right? You find yourself, you're not getting an 8-9 hour sleep, right? You're kind of in that position where you do have a dad bod. You are a little bit more lethargic. You're kind of a little bit more short fused. And if you don't have a family close by in proximity to hand off the kids to now and then, you're stressed out. You're grabbing what you can on the go, right? And you're frustrated because you're like, what the hell? Like, I used to have an athletic build when I was growing up, and now I'm like in this place where I'm tired and I feel like my life is just passing me by. I'm living this life of quiet desperation. So the thing that's going to help you overcome that is getting started without an impetus. And so many of us don't realize we're waiting for the motivation. We're waiting for the power. And this is one of those psychological, physiological things. Again, Ralph Waldo Emerson once said that you don't get the power and do the thing. You do the thing and get the power, right? And like this movement, motivation, it works in a cyclical loop. One feeds the other. And more often than not, you've got to get moving first, and then the motivation will follow as almost a reward after. So you've got to take that next step in faith, in that leap of investing into yourself, whether it's with a coach or whatever the case may be. And as a byproduct of doing that, then you'll get the quote unquote motivation you need to begin to move your life in the direction that you wanted to with your health, with your weight loss.
This is so good. I love that. So I had a client that I got started, and he absolutely, one workout, and he walked out feeling completely motivated, right? He was like, man, I do follow along videos for my workouts with my men. And he's like, I did one workout and I felt amazing. And it was interesting because he's like, I've done this on my own before, and I would get in a workout. And of course the side effect or the feeling after a workout is typically confidence, right? Most people, they get a workout in, they're like, oh man, I feel confident. And what he said was he would go through a workout on his own or go do his own thing, and he would leave feeling a little bit of confidence, but he also had this feeling of doubt, as if like, did I do the right workout? Did I do the right thing? Like, he didn't have it was almost like he was still feeling this lack of direction of, am I doing all the right things? I think a lot of guys get hung up on making sure everything is absolutely perfect before they get started, or while they're starting, it's not perfect enough, and then they stop, right? They quit because they're like, I don't even know if I'm doing the right things. I think that's the one nice thing about getting coaching is you can kind of just like let somebody else handle it and then have full confidence in each workout. Like, look, I'm headed somewhere. There's a plan, right?
Yeah. I got contact lenses this past week for the first time in my life,
Nice.
which is, by the way, it's life-changing. I'm like, why didn't anybody tell me about this? This is phenomenal. I like look in I'm like, I can see a whole new world. I'm like Aladdin on like a magic carpet over here. But one thing that was helpful is I had someone guiding me, holding my hand every step of the way. And if I were to have done that on my own and put my contact, I would have like stabbed my eye out. Like, obviously not, but I would have not known what the hell to do to get the freaking contact lens in my eye. And even with the guide that was guiding me, literally holding my hand every step of the way, it was still challenging. But oftentimes we forget that, like, wait a minute, this isn't just something you can figure out on your own. Like, you don't figure out like alphabet on your own, right? You don't just like, okay, now I know how to like conjugate verbs now because I was everything valuable you learn from other people. And one of the most valuable things you can do is when you invest in yourself and you have coaching, it doesn't even have to be in your health. If you have a mentor, how many of us have had mentors in our careers? And that has catapulted us miles ahead of where we could have been without them. And we forget that, wait a minute, coaching works in every area of your life. Why wouldn't it work in your health if it worked in your career? And you know what I love, dude, is when people say they're self-made. I'm like, get the hell out of here. Like, you did not birth yourself. You did not get here by your freaking self. Every one of us, no man is an island, as the 18th century philosopher once famously said. We all got here because of other people's help. And a lot of it is fear. A lot of it is ego, lack of humility. But once we're able to finally get over that hump and invest into ourselves, have a coach guiding us, it's exactly what you said. It's no more guesswork. And what's more is you're equipped with the tools that you need to learn how to fish for lasting change. And that's where that level of confidence not only comes from the workout, but there's a confidence in you're following a plan that's time tested, and that level of doubt goes away.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Very good. I like that. So we're contact buddies. I've had contacts since I was in 4th grade.
Dude, I feel like everything in life I'm like doing as an adult that people did as kids. So like, yeah, I learned how to ride a bike. I'm like, I still don't know how to ride a bike. I learned how to swim. I'm like, I still can't swim. Like, I'm just starting to live life now. I just woke up. I was sleeping for the past 25 years. 26 years.
It's never too late, you know? No, but my mom had to put my contacts in for me in the 4th grade. You know, like I just didn't have the wherewithal to do it myself for a few weeks or months, maybe.
Really? You don't just like touch your eyes on the regular?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And as a kid, you know, your instincts like you don't touch that, you know. I'm smarter than that. But yeah, it is a game changer though. It is nice.
It's fun. I wear them like every day.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so any other mistakes you might the guy getting started is going to bump into, and it's going to maybe they're like a couple months in to working out in their fitness journey?
You know, that's a great question. So I like to, again, I'm all about psychology and physiology, and the body is the mind, right? So when you get started, there's almost like this uninformed optimism. It's like, this is going to be great. Like, I can't wait to get started and blah, blah. And then as you go along the process, you come into informed pessimism, and you begin to realize, and our mentor talks about this all the time, you begin to realize, like, wait a minute, this is not going to be a walk in the park. Like, this actually might require a little bit of work. Like, I wasn't expecting this. And you and I both know it's not hard. When you're following a plan, when you have a coach guiding you every step of the way, it's maybe one of the easiest things you can do. But initially for you, you might feel like, oh, this isn't as easy as I thought it would be. And then eventually you reach the valley of despair. And this is where most people, and I know this sounds like a positive mindset right now, but this is where people kind of give up, right? This is where they hit that same roadblock or whatever the case may be. And then, you know what? They want that next red shiny object. They want to feel that dopamine hit again. So they start something new. And it's the same cycle, like you said, the hamster wheel of uninformed optimism. Yeah, you feel so good. And then, informed pessimism. And then, valley of despair. But that's the difference when you have a coach guiding you. You have that next level, which is informed optimism. You realize that, holy shit, I can actually freaking do this. Like, one of the mistakes most guys make is, let's say you have a dad bod, you're overweight, 20, 30, 40 pounds, stubborn belly fat. You want abs. Like, that is so far away. You just don't believe it's possible. But when you have those milestones that you're crossing and you're having a guide you, like Virgil guiding Dante through hell, Dante's Inferno, then you get to that place where, after informed optimism, where you do realize after achieving certain milestones that, wait a minute, I can do this. I can get into the best shape of my life. And then only after that entire journey do you reach goal acquisition. And then what happens from there? The goal and the reward for climbing a mountain is another bigger mountain to climb.
Right.
And you do the entire process again. But this time, you're not on that same freaking mountain. You're moving forward in your life.
Yeah.
And that creates a level of energy and momentum, and you feel alive.
Yeah, no, and this, so what you just described also might be for some listeners, it's like the honeymoon stage, right? When you get into a relationship and everything is just easy.
You're talking to me right now. Okay. I see what you're doing here.
No, but you know, it's like your partner can make no mistakes. Like even the quirky things they do is just like, oh, it's so cute and it's so perfect. But that's kind of the beginning of that journey in the fitness side of this too. Is you're pumped, you're excited, you're thinking about all the ways that you're going to get to your goals. You're optimistic on hitting them, all these different things, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's a lot of work involved, and it's day in and day out, and it's consistency, and it doesn't go away. Just like in a relationship, you know, you get through that honeymoon stage, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, they're disagreeing with me. There's a lot of work to be done, you know, introspective, right? You're starting to see things that you're doing wrong. So there's so many, I think that's correlated to so many different areas of our life, but it's all the same. Like you said, that kind of those cycles of, you know, I called it the honeymoon phase. You called it the optimistic. What did you call it? The optimistic,
uninformed optimism.
Uninformed optimism. Then we hit the realization of the hard work. And you called that phase
informed pessimism.
Okay. Then we got the informed pessimism. And then all of a sudden it's like, I don't know if I can do this. And now we're in the pit of despair. So you said, what did you call
the valley of despair?
The valley of despair. Okay. So, but yeah,
I like pit though. That's better.
Right. And that's where, you know, a lot of times relationships don't work out. You see high divorce rates, you see all this stuff. But I think a roadblock, or maybe even a preparation for the guys listening, and I believe you probably are going to be the same in this, but this isn't easy. Even with coaching, you know, my guys, I tell them in my first phone call with them, like, this isn't going to be easy. I'm going to take out all the friction and make it as easy as possible or simple as possible to follow and to do. But it doesn't mean it's not hard, you know? And yeah,
I want to really quickly comment on that.
Yeah,
because I think it's important for people to know that, you know, a lot of people think they lack the willpower, right? And what they do, like starving themselves, going low carb, cutting this out, cutting out alcohol. The reason I say it's easy when you have a coach is because you don't do all that crap. And like, for me, that's a lot more sustainable.
Right. So we're yeah, exactly. So you're saying like people have already decided what the coaching is going to be, which is like the school of hard knocks. You're never going to be able to look at a beer ever again. You can't have carbs ever again. You know, right? There's all these preconceived notions of what the coaching is going to be like, and it's almost in their head. It's this boot camp experience of like, going to crush you, and you're going to hate life. And you're going to barely be able to get off the toilet when you get done with these workouts. You know. Yeah. And look, it's hard in the sense that, you know, nothing worth having is easy.
Sure.
So there's a hard part to this.
Sure.
And I think we have an aversion to hard based on society. There's so many things that are just like handed over to us. I mean, I was just talking to a buddy, and it's like, we're spoon fed our thoughts now. I mean, literally, it's like, let me tell you how to think. Like, and I think men listening, look, if you really want to level up your life, start forming your own opinions, start thinking, start doing, take action, right? These are the things that are going to do, but some of it's hard, you know? And I think people want to be told it's easy, and that's the way they'll buy in. And unfortunately, I'd rather be the guy being like, look, this isn't easy, but I'm going to make it simple and doable. And it's not going to be living in a bubble either, right? We're going to live real life. We're still going to eat pizza. We're still going to have things that we want. But like, let's find some balance, and let's get you into the shape that you want to get into.
And that's exactly what I say when I say easy. There's a balance. It's sustainable. It's a lifestyle, right? And like, I think it's important to communicate that. Like, I'm not saying it's easy. Like, anything, like you said, worth having is not easy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of like Jim Rohn, who is Tony Robbins' mentor. He said, it's simple to do, but it's also simple not to do.
Yeah.
It's simple to go to the gym 3 times a week. It's also simple not to go to the gym 3 times a week. How fucking hard, excuse my French, how fucking hard is it to go to the gym 3 times a week? How fucking hard is it? It's not. But how easy is it not to do? It's just as easy. So that's kind of what I'm talking about.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Now, obviously, like, you're going to push yourself. It's going to require you to, expand your identity, expand your habits. What I find is it's a lot easier with guys who are willing to unlearn all of their preconceived notions, like you were talking about, right? It's a lot harder when they already think like, all right, well, I got to get mentally ready for this. Like, let me get into and this goes back to being on the fence, because you think you got to get mentally ready for something that doesn't exist. Like, I got mentally ready to like not eat carbs and not go out and not go to parties and not be with my family. Whereas when I don't know the way like you exactly work with like your nutrition, but when you learn a more flexible way of eating, you realize like you don't have to eat chicken breast, broccoli, and fucking air to get to the result that you want. In fact, that might even work against you in many ways.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, I think a lot of times too, I run into the idea, like one of the things with my guys that I work with is they realize either a lot of times they're not even eating enough. And, I stick them on my program and they're like, holy cow, this feels like a lot of food. And I'm like, what's funny is it's actually sometimes it depends on my client, but sometimes it's a caloric deficit compared to what they were eating. But the foods they're eating are all of a sudden so nutrient dense and like healthy. They find the energy that they've been looking for, but they're like, man, I feel like I'm full. I'm like, okay, like great.
I like to call that the nutritional real estate of food.
Yeah.
Right? You have a high level of nutritional real estate that provides a big punch, that packs a big punch rather, but it doesn't bring along with it the excessive calories that a lot of these like hyper palatable, ultra processed foods do.
Yes. And I love to say this to my men too. And even just on social media, I love, look, I don't know why, but everybody thinks that every time they eat, it needs to be this like explosion of flavor and this experience as if it's this just perfectly gourmet. Like, I feel like all the food commercials and stuff that you see on a regular basis, especially when TV was more commercial based, but it's like, it has to be the best tasting thing you've ever put in your mouth or it's a miserable, right? Instead of this fuel. And also I think our palates are so, I think sabotaged with so many flavored foods that we don't really know what the real taste of like a strawberry is or an almond, or, it's like, I'll peel these guys back into reality and all of a sudden they're like, man, almonds taste really good. I'm like, yeah, that's because you're not eating sugar 24/7, like we've taken you back a couple notches and now you're starting to realize like all these whole foods have tons of flavor,
Yeah, dude, I think you hit on such a good point. And that goes back to these hyper palatable, ultra processed foods, which for everyone listening who might not know what that is, that's a food that is literally engineered by food scientists to have the perfect mouthfeel, texture, taste, and combination of salt, sugar, and fat that appeals to our primordial taste buds. And like you said, hijacks our palate and prevents us from experiencing normal food. And we start looking at it as boring because It's almost like a hyper stimulation in many ways. It kind of prevents you from the reality. But like you said, once you begin to peel that back and bring them back to eating normal foods, you begin to realize like, oh, wait a minute, like, man, broccoli tastes pretty damn good. And like fruit is kind of like a dessert. Like, wow, I didn't realize this. It's because I've been living a lie.
Right. Or they're like, man, I've been having regular bowel movements. I'm like, oh, really? That's so great. Well,
I think that's a good thing. I don't know. I'm not like a scientist or a doctor, but I want to say that's a positive thing.
Yeah, it's funny, but because it's all these things that start happening when they're eating healthy and starting to taste the foods and, like I just said, having regular bowel movements. It's amazing because it's like, man, you've been sabotaging yourself quite a bit, and two, I just had this talk on a walk with my wife yesterday. She was like, I think one of the things we see with so many people is, they see the food boxes throughout the aisles of the grocery store and it's like, oh, it says super healthy on it. And it says whole grain and it says blah, blah, blah. So it must be good. And again, this is where we're spoon fed our thoughts and our thinking. It's like, I'll let the box think for me and I'll just follow suit. But there's a problem to that. And there's also a reason why we're 60+% overweight in America.
I think that's obese, actually. I think
obesity.
Yeah, which is even worse.
Worse, right? It's scary, But yeah, we're just look, make the decisions for me and tell me what to think, and that's a problem, right? And look, it's not that I don't do that in my coaching where I help them learn all this stuff, but I also want them to figure that I want to empower them. Like, I don't want you to just rely on me.
Totally.
I'm here to coach you and keep you accountable, but I want you to figure this out too, so that if I'm not around, one, you know what to do, and two, you're teaching somebody else to do it. Like you're passing this on.
Yeah. Dude, that's like ultimate mastery right there.
Yes.
When you can teach that, right? So when I was working as an in-person trainer, what I found was that my clients would get phenomenal results. They would, right? Maybe they wouldn't lose a ton of weight or anything, but their body compositions would change. They would feel more energy. But the second we stopped working together, it's like I just gave them the fish. And how much could you learn 3 times a week for an hour each? I can't teach you how to fish during that time, right? So it's exactly what you said. Yes, we're going to give you a no guesswork plan. We're going to take out all the thinking, tell you what to do so you can get the result. But along the way, you're going to learn the tools necessary to learn how to fish so that you can sustain this as a lasting lifestyle on your own. So that, sure, if you want to continue and you want to take this to the next level, we're here, but you know how to sustain this result as a lifestyle so you don't ever go back to that place. But dude, I think you nailed it about the thinking. The thinking is so critical, where so many of us are just drowning in distraction. I like to call them weapons of mass distraction. Right? We have all these like apps on our phone, and you don't have time to think. You literally, if you're on your phone, you're reading something, you're listening to something, you don't have time to think. So what I have found very helpful is what I like to call white space on my calendar. And for me, what that means is early in the morning, whether it's 5 o'clock or whatever the case may be, take 90 minutes and there is no phone, there's no internet, no stimulation of any sort, right? And I really get to do a lot of my deep work during that time, and I get to think. And that thinking allows me to envision where I'm going. And I feel like a lot of us are missing that. And we're stressed out because we don't have time to really decompress, right? Because watching Netflix, as cool as it is, and listen, I love movies. I'm a big TV guy, but that's not decompressing. That's still, you're still stimulated.
Yep.
Real decompressing is when you're either in nature or you're completely by yourself and you can really think. You're walking with maybe a friend or whatever the case may be. Steve Jobs, like I'm reading this phenomenal book right now called The Ride of a Lifetime. It's written by the former CEO of the Walt Disney Company. And they talk about scheduling time on their calendar to think. Steve Jobs would have like thinking walks. He's famous for his walks, right? Walk and talk and think. And I feel like we miss that in today's society. And that's why we're not thinking for ourselves. We don't schedule it. We don't have time to actually be in nature and really disconnect.
Right. I love that. To go along with that, this is good. Just my own kind of perspective on this, exactly what you're saying. I feel like there's 2 options in your life at any given moment. You're either consuming or you're creating, right? And it's really, really hard to do both because they conflict with each other. So, as long as you're sitting in front of the TV, you might have an idea or something like that, but it's very limited to how much you can really create in that moment because you're busy consuming. So the question is, you should ask yourself throughout the day, am I consuming something or am I creating something? Because truly we're designed to be creators, create a better body, create a better life, create a better mindset, create, build and make the world a better place, right? It's this creation of all these different things that we can do out of what we're given with these bodies and these minds. But if we're just consuming, you're never going to end up creating anything, right? It's so limited because your consumption. When you're consuming a book, I actually believe that depending on the book you're reading, you're actually creating a better mind because you're busy reading and you're busy educating yourself in a certain manner versus consuming a movie it might be more limited, right? And it's more of a consumption, but kind of finding this balance with those two is I think critical for men to understand. Look, if you want a better life, if you want to be the best version of yourself, ask yourself, how often do you consume versus how often you create? Because that ratio should be in check.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about bowel movements earlier, right? And let's talk about mental constipation from all this consumption, right? So
yes.
as humans, you nailed it. We're open systems. We're not just consuming food with our mouth. We're consuming information with our eyes. We're consuming our environment, right? I'm moving next week to Long Island, right? I'm completely moving, right? And one of the reasons I'm doing that is to upgrade my environment, right? Being somewhere where it's better, being around people that are much further ahead, people I like admire and want to, be like. So just by being in a different environment, by consuming different things, this podcast, as an example, feeding your mind, feeding your spirit, feeding your emotions, your mental, your body, all these things will create the life that we want, but we don't realize that our body is an open system. And what you put in is pretty much produced out, multiplied. And if you put garbage in, garbage news in, garbage information in, limiting beliefs in, how do you expect out of that to create a positive life? It's like baking a cake with cement, as Jim Rohn would say, right? It can't be done. If you want a positive life, it starts with feeding yourself positive messages, feeding your body the right nutrition, and feeding your emotions, strengthening all aspects of your life in this way.
I love it. I love it. It's funny because I think so many times, like you said, this was such a good point. I want to go back to this, but you said, we'll sit down on the couch and we're like, okay, I've been working all day. I have a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 8-year-old. So I'm slammed with kids, right? I'm running circles around them. I sit down and it's like my mind thinks, okay, if I pop on a movie, I can decompress and just not think. And it's like, like you said, am I really decompressing, or am I just choosing a different stimulus to check out and kind of go into this, maybe it's foggy brain, whatever it might be, but I'm going somewhere else besides actually decompressing. And I find that interesting because there's so many better ways I could use that time to quote unquote decompress.
I was reading something, dude, that was fascinating, which is back in ancient Rome, Julius Caesar, what he did during that time to kind of appease the more quote unquote peasant class that were struggling economically. And what he did was he created this Colosseum, and he provided live entertainment where these gladiators would battle these fierce animals, whether it be lions or whatever the case may be. And I feel like that's exactly what we're experiencing in modern society, because kind of history repeats itself, right? So we're kind of being neutered in many ways. We're kind of being appeased, because if we really looked at our life and we got a little bit uncomfortable and we began to feel a little bit of that pain, and instead of mitigating it, we actually saw it for what it was, when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing, that's when all change happens. We would begin to do the things in our life that would move us forward. But we mitigate where we are by neutering ourselves, by having this numbing effect through consumption, through entertainment. And we don't have to then face the real problem, whether it be with our body or, let's face it, with our careers. What did they say? This is a cliche statistic. Over 80% of people hate their jobs. It's a very strong word, right? Like people say. So like all these areas of our life, our relationships, we're not living, we're vicariously experiencing life through other people. Right. And it goes back to history repeats itself. And the people that do kind of escape this sort of matrix, if you will, they allow themselves to feel that pain. They don't say, I'm a little bit chubby, but I'll be fine. They really intensify where they're at. It's like they look at themselves with true eyes in the mirror and say, I have a dad bod. I have stubborn belly fat. I look like crap. I feel like crap. Like we think, don't shame yourself. Don't say that. Like, blah. But that's not shaming yourself. That's just facing the fact, right? And the truth will set you free.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And one of my favorite quotes comes from Malcolm X. He says, that which you do not hate, you will eventually tolerate. So we can leverage the push of that pain to get us going. And then sure, at some point you could have a pull of the future, a vision that's compelling enough to move you forward. But initially, allow yourself to feel that pain. Allow yourself to skip a night of Netflix and see what happens. And I can tell you now that if you're not happy in one area of your life, human beings, we're creators. We want to improve. Our soul wants to strive for more. You're going to find yourself naturally moving in that direction.
No, yep, you're spot on, man. It's funny because when you were saying all this, you talked about the Malcolm X quote. It's so true. It's like, what are we willing to tolerate? And why are we tolerating it for so long? And it's like, what is the motivation behind this tolerant mindset towards all these pains that we're suffering from? I have men that are like, man, I haven't had this much energy in this amount of time. Or I had one of the guys in the program talk about how he hadn't had sex this much and since he was dating. And it was like, dude, this has been here the whole time. It's just now you're making the decisions to live life no longer as a spectator. Like you said with the Coliseum, it's like you're either a spectator or you're participating and you're in the game, of life, and you're playing. And you really can't do both. You can't be a player and a spectator. You have to pick one. And just like consuming versus creating, it's like, all right, there's all these columns you want to start checking off. If you're listening, it's like, are you creating or consuming? Are you a spectator or are you playing the game? Are you tolerating, or are you like taking life, and doing, I guess controlling what you can control, and, think through this stuff, because I think we could literally look through all the different areas of our life and see where we could step up as men. And that's including myself. I mean, I think all of us can step up somewhere in our life, just about any other category. You just have to look for it.
Totally, man. It is a, again, cliche, but it is a journey. You never get there, right?
No.
It's this never ending process. But I think once we realize that, listen, it's hard being out of shape. It's hard being lethargic. It's hard not having that passionate relationship with your spouse, or being there for your kids because you can't get up off the ground. You can't keep up with them. That's hard. And so is being healthy. There's this cliche going around on the internet. It's hard being in good shape. It's hard waking up early.
Right.
It's hard being disciplined. They're both freaking hard.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, like, this hard, I'll take these problems
right
all day long. I'll take the high level of energy that I don't know what the hell to do with all day over I don't have any energy and I feel like sleeping all day. Well, right.
It's funny, I've seen that cliche too, but I mean, it's such a good quote, right? Pick your heart. You want to be overweight and out of shape, and that's hard. And you want to be healthy and in shape and, eat healthy, blah, blah. But what's funny is the side effects of either of those hards are significantly different, right? The hard on the right is like, you just feel horrible all the time. You have low self-esteem, they're like, you're insecure. You have no confidence. The other side is full of energy, confidence. I mean, yes, they're both hard, but one is 10 times more rewarding, right? And it's a wonder that we end up navigating our way to the other hard. And it's easy, like you said, it's simple as the other part is simple. But it's interesting that we find our way. Another thing that you pointed out is that you're moving, which congratulations, by the way. I know we had talked about this a while back about you possibly moving, and you're taking that leap, which I'm proud of you, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
But you're choosing, and I've been reading about this lately. The vibration of our human existence. We have, the earth. Everything has these vibrations, these frequencies that we live around. And it's funny because we don't see it. So many people just ignore it. And yet we have this electrical heart working off of this frequency and this vibration. You're literally moving yourself to a higher vibrating place, right? These people live at a higher level, and they exist with a higher energy. I think that's huge. And I think that's also goes back to coaching. It's like, do you want to level up into, do you want to turn your thermostat up to a higher level? You got to surround yourself with those kind of people, because you're never going to be able to alone bring that thermostat all the way up. And it's just like you said, it's kind of almost arrogant of us to think, oh, I'm self-made man. No, you surrounded yourself with these higher frequency people, with these higher vibrating people, and they helped you in some direction, some way, go to where you are now. And I think it's interesting because we as men, I think a lot of times we want to be able to do it on our own, and I'm strong enough and I can handle it. And that's just a false reality.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that it actually takes more strength to be vulnerable and have courage to ask for help when you know you need it. And dude, I love that you said that about the vibrational frequencies, energy. I'm obsessed with that stuff from a scientific aspect, right? Because I feel like there are two schools of thoughts. There's like the law of attraction, but then there's the science and physics aspect to this. And we know that a lot of this is backed now by science and physics. A great actual author that describes this really well from that standpoint is Dr. Joe Dispenza. And we could, one of my favorite quotes, I think it was from Bedros Keuilian, who's our mentor's mentor. He says, your frequency is what you frequently see. And I love that because I really believe that you're spot on with what you said about that thermostat. We all have and I first heard this from Ed Milet about this thermostat in our life, where you have a thermostat for your health, your body. You have a thermostat for your finances. You have a thermostat for your relationship. And if you're 100 degreer, right, and you meet someone that is at 60 degrees, you can raise their thermostat up if you're at that level in your life. But let's say your health might be at 50 degrees. You're low on that thermostat. If you invest into a coaching program and surround yourself in a community of guys that are hitting 80, 90, 100 and beyond, just proximity, right? Yeah. You hang around the barbershop for long enough, you're bound to get a haircut, right? Like you're going to increase your own thermostat. You are that average of the people you surround yourself with, the 5 people, right? So that's going to happen as a result. And a lot of people during this time, you might not be where you want to be. As humans, we always want more, right? So no matter how much you make, you want to make more. No matter how healthy you are, you want to be healthier. No matter how passionate your relationship is, you want it to be more passionate. That's not a bad thing. It's just we're striving for more, right? We're like a freaking tree growing to the heavens and seeing how far we can freaking go. And that's not a bad thing. But realize that if you want to make more, if you want to have a better relationship, if you want to have a better body, it does come down to your energy. And you can't grow beyond that, right? And this is why that cliche of investing in yourself is so important, right? We get taught by school system, dollar cost average into the S&P 500, and that is fine. But really, you're going to invest a couple $1,000 into the S&P 500 and get $10, $20 a year, or $100 a year. Fucking really? You're going to do that rather than invest into the S&Me 500 and produce a 10, 100, 1,000x return by getting the skills, surrounding yourself with the people that have the right mindset so that you can catch it, because the right mindsets are not taught. They're caught by surrounding yourself in the right environment and developing the character traits and habits associated with being successful. You're telling me you'd rather take a couple $100 and fucking settle on your potential than invest into yourself and live the fucking life that you know that you can live really deep down inside?
I love that rant, man. That was good. Your passion, your passion is so good. It is addicting, man. I love it. No, it's so true. It's so true. And I think that's the problem is there's these self-limiting beliefs that we all get, fear sets in for so many reasons. For somehow we believe the old stories that we were told as kids, or somehow that we picked up along the way. And it's, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve that. I'll never be that rich, or I'll never be that healthy, or I'll never be that in shape. My body just doesn't let me to, or I'm big boned. Like we just load ourselves with stories and reasons why we can't get there. And that self-limiting belief, I think, is the major problem. And like you said, surrounding yourself with the right people, the right coaching, like you and I have the same coach. Look, those listeners, we both have coaches, and it just happens we have the same coach. But there's a reason for that. I got a coach, not just for the coach, but all the people within the program that I get to connect with and collaborate with and level up with. There's so much value to that outside of even the coaching. And I have guys in my program that have friended each other and kind of built a front as far as how to face life and be better men and do things better. And, when we have our weekly coaching calls, they're asking each other questions. Sometimes I'm sitting back and just listening as they go off and kind of, hey, so-and-so, what did you say about this last week? And what, they're collaborating, and it's like, I love it, because now it's taking on this organic life of its own. And that's the point, right? Is we can all bring each other up if we find the right place, which is okay. Totally. We have to do a round 2 of this because this was phenomenal. I know you have limited time. So before we leave, 1, thank you so much for being on the show with me, man. 2, how can people find Irslan Ali? Where can we find you? I know you have a coaching program. Name it. Let's have a website, whatever it is, to find you.
Yeah, so it's the Fit Body program. It's FHIT body.com is my website. But really what I'm passionate about right now is my podcast called The Inner Game. So if you type in Irslan Ali on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of these platforms, it's IRSLAN ALI, Irslan Ali, the Inner Game podcast. We're releasing 1 episode a week right now. And I have my registered dietitian and a psychologist who's also, both of whom are coaches of ours in Fit Body, doing the podcast with me. So that's something I'm really passionate about. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the mindset, the psychological, physiological aspect of things, that would be kind of the best place to connect with us, because that's where I'm investing a lot of the energy and time right now.
Boom. I love it. All right. I'll make sure all that gets in the description for those listening. Check out the description with all the links. One more question really quick. What is your definition of a muscular gentleman? I know I'm throwing you on the spot.
Love that question, bro. I feel like it's a great question, and it's one that I feel like I can, as you probably can tell, I can rant about. But I'll try to keep it as short as possible. Okay. I feel like the definition of a muscular gentleman is, I feel like men need to be taught how to be men. I didn't know how to be a man. I had to get taught that by mentors. Men need mentors. Women, I feel like, naturally know how to be feminine. They know how to be women. I don't feel like men do. So a muscular gentleman to me is someone who is present in the moment, someone who is actively working on themselves in every area of their life: mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, existential, you name it. And lastly, a muscular gentleman is someone that is stoic in nature. They understand that life is for them about emptying out, right? Like I've heard one person say, and this might be a little controversial, but we are an expression of our genitals, right? For men, we feel most fulfilled, or at least I do, is when we empty ourselves entirely towards something. When we give it our all, when we go through suffering and on the other side of that come out greater. So being present, working on ourselves by having mentors, and giving it our absolute all with singularity of focus.
Woo! That was good. Irslan Ali, gentlemen, thank you for listening. And dude, thanks again for being here, man. It was a great pleasure.
Awesome, man.
You've been listening to The Muscular Gentleman. Finally, a podcast that's unapologetic for being a man. Thanks for joining us this week. Make sure you visit the website, www.themusculargentleman.com. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you like the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or just tell a buddy about the show. That would help too. Don't forget, Rustin is available for private coaching. Embrace your masculinity and live the life you've always wanted. See you next time on The Muscular Gentleman.